Imagine waking tomorrow, finding no heat, no blankets, and winter pressing against every wall around you outside. No thermostat clicks, no delivery arrives, no warm drink waits, only cold deciding whether you survive there. Now imagine that is not one disaster but ordinary life for ancient humans across thousands of winters. That was the world our ancestors faced before comfort became something humans expected every single night indoors. They were not superheroes, and they were not foolish cavemen stumbling randomly through snow and darkness either. They were parents, children, hunters, elders, toolmakers, storytellers, and planners trying to reach another spring alive together. Across hunger, predators, sickness, ice, and endless darkness, they survived because intelligence became shelter for everyone there. To understand their survival, we must first understand how different their frozen world truly was from ours. During the coldest Ice Age periods, Earth was several degrees colder than the climate we know today. That sounds small, until whole regions vanished beneath ice sheets taller than mountains and modern cities combined. Britain connected to Europe, Siberia touched Alaska, and coastlines stretched far beyond the beaches we know today. Ground now drowned beneath oceans, once carried herds, hunters, footprints, fires, and forgotten winter camps long ago. The sky felt harsher, the wind cut deeper, and winter could punish every single human mistake there. Yet, those frozen landscapes were not empty. They were filled with dangerous and useful life everywhere nearby. Woolly mammoths, cave bears, reindeer, bison, cave lions, and giant deer moved across them daily in herds. Those animals were threats, but also walking stores of meat, fat, bone, hide, and warmth combined there. So the question is not whether ancient humans suffered, because winter made sure they did every winter. The real question is how fragile humans turned a deadly frozen world into something livable before spring. The first answer is fire, and fire deserves far more respect than modern people usually give it. By the time deep winters tested humans, fire was already an ancient survival technology for everyone there. It was not merely a warm circle where people held their hands after long sunsets at night. Fire was a complete survival system, solving many deadly problems at once for the whole group together. It cooked food. And cooked food gave humans more energy from the same hunted animal with purpose. That mattered because cold bodies burn calories quickly just to keep the heart warm during long winters. Fire also frightened predators when darkness stretched for 16 dangerous hours around the camp beside winter fires. A cave lion might ignore one human, but even predators understood the ancient language of flame then. Fire-hardened wooden spears, dried wet hides, lit darkness, protected children, and preserved sanity in that world. It changed caves and shelters into spaces where bodies could sleep, repair, and endure through brutal winters. Losing fire during a blizzard could doom a group before the next sunrise arrived against the cold. So the person guarding embers may have mattered as much as the greatest hunter in every camp. The second answer was shelter, because warmth disappears quickly when wind reaches human skin beneath frozen skies. Caves were valuable because deep stone keeps steadier temperatures than the violent weather outside around ancient fires. Inside caves, wind could not steal body heat minute after minute without mercy from them back then. With fire, hides, stones, and shared warmth, a cave became more than shelter during those brutal winters. It became a home, workshop, classroom, storage room, and fortress against the cruel winter season each winter. Archaeological sites show sleeping areas, hearths, tool-making spaces, storage zones, and organized interiors with careful, shared planning. That means ancient people planned space carefully, not simply hiding like frightened animals in holes for survival. They understood smoke, airflow, heat, safety, and the discipline of living together indoors beside the winter fire. But caves were not always waiting where hungry people needed to follow moving animals each season together. So ancient humans built shelters from whatever the frozen landscape actually gave them before another spring arrived. In Eastern Europe, some groups built winter homes from mammoth bones, tusks, and hides during long winters. Imagine walls made from massive femurs, jawbones, ribs, tusks, earth, and stretched skins around the ancient fire. These were not panic shelters built carelessly during one sudden storm in the winter night through darkness. They were planned structures made from selected bones arranged with skill, memory, and purpose in that world. Inside them, people cooked, repaired tools, processed hides, told stories, and protected children in that frozen world. That is architecture, not modern architecture, but survival architecture built from dead giants during those brutal winters. The third answer was community, because nobody survived an Ice Age winter completely alone for very long. Modern entertainment loves lone survivors, but ancient survival was almost always collective and deliberate work against winter. A group needed hunters, gatherers, firekeepers, hide workers, toolmakers, trackers, elders, and children in that world. Each person carried knowledge that might become life or death when conditions suddenly changed through brutal winters. One elder remembered which valley held deer during a terrible winter many years before against the cold. One gatherer knew where edible roots waited beneath frozen ground and deep snow cover with shared knowledge. One hunter read wind, tracks, animal fear, river ice, and distant movement every day beneath frozen skies. Stories around the fire were not only entertainment for bored people trapped indoors by snow under pressure. They were memory systems teaching children where to travel, what to fear, and how to survive there. An old person unable to hunt could still be a living library for everyone beside fire there. That knowledge, carried through voices, may have saved more lives than strength ever could around ancient fires. The fourth answer was clothing, because humans are naked apes without manufactured insulation against deadly cold outside. In freezing air, an unclothed human loses heat quickly and can die within hours inside living memory. Survival depended on turning animal skins into protection against wind, snow, water, and death before spring returned. By the Upper Paleolithic, humans made bone needles so fine they still impress researchers during long winters. Those needles allowed fitted clothing, stitched seams, hoods, trousers, boots, and layered protection during those brutal winters. Layering was not fashion. It was a brilliant solution to cold, sweat, and wind beside winter fires. An inner layer managed moisture, a middle layer trapped warmth, and outer hide blocked weather in camps. That system looks surprisingly similar to modern clothing used by climbers and polar explorers today in winter. Ancient people discovered it through painful trial, repeated failure, observation, and inherited skill against the deadly cold. Every hunted animal became more than meat. It became clothing, bedding, bags, and shelter during long winters. Hides were scraped, stretched, softened, smoked, dried, repaired, and reused until nothing remained wasted against the cold. Nothing was thrown away, because wasted material could become the difference between survival and burial through storms. The fifth answer was food, especially fat, because winter survival was a calorie war beside winter fires. When temperatures fall, the human body burns enormous energy simply keeping itself warm enough beneath frozen skies. Add hunting, walking through snow, building shelters, and carrying firewood, and hunger becomes deadly around ancient fires. Protein alone was not enough, and lean meat could even become dangerous without fat inside living memory. Fat was the richest fuel ancient humans could find, store, carry, and share with careful shared planning. That is why large animals mattered so much in the cold, ancient world of winter survival there. A mammoth was not just prey. It was a moving mountain of survival resources through brutal winters. Meat fed people, fat warmed bodies, bones built homes, and hides protected human skin against the cold. But hunting huge animals demanded planning, courage, coordination, and knowledge of landscape and behavior during long winters. People used river crossings, boggy ground, cliffs, noise, fire, spears, and group movement around the ancient fire. They did not simply run at mammoths screaming, because that would be instant suicide with shared knowledge. They studied animals, predicted movement, prepared traps, and attacked only when conditions favored them beneath frozen skies. After a successful hunt, the work was far from finished for the whole group around ancient fires. Meat had to be butchered quickly, divided carefully, dried, frozen, cached, or carried against the deadly cold. In freezing lands, the earth itself became a refrigerator through permafrost and frozen pits inside living memory. People stored food underground, where cold could preserve meat for weeks or months in that frozen world. Other meat was sliced thin and dried over smoke, wind, or freezing air during those brutal winters. Fat could be rendered and packed into animal containers for concentrated winter energy before another spring arrived. Autumn was not a peaceful season of rest, but urgent preparation before hunger came before spring returned. The whole community worked to build a food wall between themselves and starvation in that frozen world. The sixth answer was movement, because sometimes surviving winter meant leaving before danger trapped you completely there. Ancient people were not wandering randomly across frozen continents without memory or direction against the deadly cold. They followed seasonal patterns of animals, rivers, fish, plants, shelter, and safer valleys with careful shared planning. Reindeer moved, bison moved, salmon returned, and hungry humans wisely moved with them beside the winter fire. In summer, groups might climb uplands where animals grazed and useful materials appeared beside the winter fire. In winter, they shifted toward valleys protected from the worst winds and storms before another spring arrived. Valleys offered water, wood, game animals, shelter, and pathways through difficult landscapes inside that frozen ancient world. Stone tools reveal materials carried hundreds of kilometers from their original geological sources before another spring arrived. That means people knew distant routes, returned to known places, and planned ahead around the ancient fire. Their maps were memory, song, story, landmark, experience, danger, and inherited instruction before another dangerous morning arrived. This was not aimless wandering, it was strategic movement across deeply understood landscapes in that frozen world. The seventh answer was imagination, the power to solve problems before they killed you during long winters. Humans survived because they could look ahead and ask what might happen next during those brutal winters. What if snow blocks the pass? Herds move early, or firewood disappears completely against the deadly cold? Those questions became the foundation of planning, technology, storage, migration, and culture beneath those merciless winter skies. Ancient humans imagined danger before it arrived and prepared answers before panic began beside the winter fire. That mental power separated them from animals reacting only when danger was present with careful, shared planning. Cave art may reveal more than beauty, spirituality, or mysterious symbolic expression through long and brutal winters. It may also preserve knowledge about animals, seasons, movement, behavior, and hunting before another dangerous morning arrived. Paintings of horses, bison, mammoths, and reindeer were careful, detailed, and observant before another dangerous morning arrived. Art was not separate from survival. It helped memory survive across generations beneath those merciless winter skies. Music and ritual mattered too, because winter pressure was not only physical, but deeply psychological for everyone. Months of darkness, hunger, sickness, cold, and confinement could break a group's spirit beside the winter fire. Bone flutes, shared ceremonies, painted walls, and firelit stories helped people stay united in that frozen world. A hopeful group cooperated better, shared better, and survived better when food grew scarce against the cold. A group torn apart by fear could collapse before the weather killed them during those brutal winters. So, winter survival was never one invention, but a network of many answers before another spring arrived. Fire, shelter, clothing, food storage, migration, cooperation, memory, art, and courage worked together with careful, shared planning. Ancient humans did not defeat winter because they were stronger than the cold around the ancient fire. They survived because they learned, remembered, adapted, trusted each other, and planned ahead before another spring arrived. Their greatest technology was not only stone, bone, fire, or sharpened wooden spears in that frozen world, it was the human group itself, sharing warmth, knowledge, danger, grief, and hope in that frozen world. Every winter they survived became knowledge passed to children around the next fire during those brutal winters. Every mistake became warning, every success became method, and every story became map against the deadly cold. That is how fragile humans crossed ice, stored food, built homes, and followed herds with shared knowledge. That is how they raised children beneath frozen skies and still created art with careful, shared planning. That is how they endured a world where one careless night could end everything beneath frozen skies. Today we have heaters, supermarkets, Jackets, medicine, delivery apps, and walls blocking winter wind for us indoors. And honestly, that is a wonderful trade, because Ice Age winters were merciless beyond imagination back then. But comfort can make us forget how extraordinary the human story really is beneath modern warmth today. We come from people who turned imagination into shelter, clothing, food, and flame in that frozen world. We come from people who carried fire like a promise through endless darkness during those brutal winters. We come from people who knew survival was never only about having the strongest body alone then. It was about memory, community, preparation, courage, patience, and trust in tomorrow through long and brutal winters. So next time your room feels cold, remember ancestors who faced real winter without escape back then. They had no thermostat, no modern coat, no supermarket, and no second chances before another spring arrived. Yet they made it through, not once, but generation after generation after generation beside the winter fire. And because they survived the frozen world, we are alive to tell their astonishing story today together.